You have misled the committee. It's a reasonable possibility. Different people may take different views, but it is a reasonable view. Would you agree?
I agree that different people can take different views.
And it is a reasonable view.
I agree that different people can take different views.
I've asked you another question. A reasonable person can take that view.
A reasonable person could take that view.
Thank you.
How do you make someone concede a point they don't want to concede? Especially when they are representing one of the most powerful and heavily lawyered companies in the world. In 2018, Singapore's Law Minister K. Shanmugam questioned Facebook Vice President Simon Milner about something fundamental. Was Facebook transparent? And were its users getting the protections they deserved? No single question was devastating. But Shanmugam closed Milner's escape routes, one concession at a time. The questioning was adversarial, and yet it mostly sounded cordial. Shanmugam is polite, measured, and often explicitly aligns himself with Facebook's own principles.
And we see you as partners in trying to deal with those issues. And you are now before this Parliamentary Select Committee representing the people of this country, and this is a serious discussion. And would you agree to make progress, we need to be full, frank, and honest?
Yes.
Thank you. That sets out your position and some of your core principles, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. That at least 270,000 users and tens of millions of their friends, their data had been given to Cambridge Analytica without permission in clear violation of the rules. Correct?
In clear violation of our terms, yes.
Yes. Mr. Milner, I think you have gone to several parliaments around the world to give evidence. Can I now refer you to some answers you gave to the British Parliament in their select committee? Can we look at question 447? Mr. Matheson asked you, have you ever passed any user information over to Cambridge Analytica or any of its associated companies? And the answer was no. We then go on to question 448. But they do hold a large chunk of Facebook's user data, don't they? No, they may have lots of data, but it will not be Facebook user data. It may be data about people who are on Facebook that they have gathered themselves, but it's not data that we have provided.
Shanmugam is building a scaffold. Instead of attacking Facebook, he gets Milner to establish some facts, from which an inescapable conclusion follows. Shanmugam then exposes a troubling omission.
You are being very careful and economical with the truth. You were trying to answer a very precise question, while you knew, the facts you knew were that a large amount of data had been accessed in breach of your rules. You knew that at that time.
There's a difference between a technically true answer and a complete answer.
People want short answers rather than long ones. I gave a truthful answer to the committee. All my answers were true.
Unlawful access of data relating to 50 million users, in your view, is a minor issue?
Did Milner really think that such a big issue didn't need to be said? Shanmugam highlights what a full, frank, and honest answer would have been.
You knew that a large amount of data had been accessed by Cambridge Analytica in breach of your rules and policies. The question was, did you give any information to Cambridge Analytica? Can I suggest to you, in the context of being full, frank, and honest, which you said you had to be with us, and I'm sure you offer the same courtesy to the UK Parliament, one would have then said, we did not give it. But you know what? In breach of our policies, a large amount of data had in fact been accessed by Cambridge Analytica. Can I suggest to you that would have been a full, frank, and honest answer?
I agree with you.
The politeness is deadly. Can I suggest sounds tentative, but Shanmugam is actually introducing the conclusion he wants Milner to consider. Shanmugam then uses that concession to extract a more valuable one.
I think Mr. Collins has objectively a right to feel that he has been misled. Let me put it that way. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I never misled him.
Milner initially thinks he has to answer this question. His answer is obviously no. But Shanmugam is asking a different question.
I'm talking about objective perception. We have your admission that your answers could have been more full. Okay? There is no two ways about it. That's clear. You could have been more full. Mr. Collins has taken the view that you have been misleading to the committee. Just based on that, my suggestion to you is objectively, anyone looking at those two answers, your statement that you could have been more full in the context of his questions, I say it's reasonable. I'm not saying you take that view. It's reasonable for someone to come to a conclusion that you have misled the committee. It's a reasonable possibility. Different people may take different views, but it is a reasonable view. Would you agree?
I agree that different people can take different views.
And it is a reasonable view.
I agree that different people can take different views.
I've asked you another question. A
I've given
reasonable
you an
person
answer.
can take that view.
A reasonable person could take that view.
Thank you.
This is the Ratchet. One concession becomes fodder for the next. Then things become even more damaging because Shanmugam shifts from what happened to what do your own principles require.
You are obviously aware of Mr. Zuckerberg's comments last night on his
I am.
Facebook. Right. Let's look at them.
Sure.
He says, we have a responsibility to protect your data, and if we can't, then we don't deserve to serve you. There was a breach of trust between Kogan, Cambridge Analytica, and Facebook. But it was also a breach of trust between Facebook and the people who share their data with us and expect us to protect it. So there is an acceptance that this was a major breach of trust by Facebook.
Yes.
And the user's trust is at the core of Facebook's services. Yes?
Yes, that's right.
And users deserve to have their information protected. Yes?
Yes.
And when that trust is breached, the company should be transparent.
That's what we said, and indeed we've committed that we will communicate with all the people who are affected by this.
And you should be open with the public that a breach has occurred.
That a breach of trust has occurred.
Yes. And not play verbal games.
Sorry?
Not play verbal games.
I'm not sure I follow you.
I'm sure you do.
Where you're driving. I'm not sure I do. Can you explain further?
I start with a general question. Having established that there needs to be trust, that there needs to be openness, that there needs to be transparency, would you agree that when one comes across an instance where there's been a breach, one accepts it openly and not try and avoid it by using language which sort of hides what happened? Would you accept that?
When our terms have been breached, we owe it to people to let them know if they're affected by it. Correct.
Thank you.
Shanmugam extracts a ladder of concessions. As he moves up the rungs, they form a set of principles that a company professes. He then confirms that those principles apply here and measures Facebook's actual behavior against them.
You knew that there had been a major breach of your
Trust.
policies.
Of trust and our policies. Yes, a breach of our policies. Correct.
Breach of your policies. You knew that there has been a major breach of trust on your part, right?
Well, we understood that the breach of our policies had been contained. We have said now that actually we should have taken the step of notifying users, and that was a mistake that we made.
Right. So you knew on the 8th of February that there was a major breach of trust on your part.
We knew there'd been a breach of our policies.
Facebook did not inform any of the 270,000 users or their friends that the information had been illegitimately accessed, correct?
Well, the 270, no, you're correct.
Thank you. Your conduct is contrary to all of these principles, correct, in this instance?
In this instance, yes.
Yes. You did not tell the public. You did not tell the UK Parliamentary Committee. You did not even tell the users whose data had been shared.
That's a general failure of transparency. Not telling UK Parliament, not telling affected users, not telling the public. Obviously, Milner fights back.
I think our CEO's words make it very clear this was a mistake, we got it wrong. But it doesn't mean that the rest of
Would you
but the
accept
rest of
that
those
it's quite
commitments are-
unacceptable?
We've said that. We got it wrong. We should have told people.
These professed commitments seen against your conduct, are they true statements of intention or are they PR verbiage?
They're absolutely a true statement, not just of intention, but of our actions. I can provide plenty of
Well,
information to this committee to demonstrate that.
The best example, illustration of statements of intention is actual conduct. So why did you not tell the users whose data was subject of this serious breach?
Shanmugam pins Milner by forcing him to choose between two uncomfortable positions. Milner chooses the latter. Shanmugam swoops in, forcing Milner to explain Facebook's conduct.
I really would like to be helpful, but I don't want to speculate because I was not involved in that decision. I think it would be wrong for me to speculate.
Right. I'm asking you as a reasonable person, does it look odd to you that users were not contacted and the public were not informed?
It definitely looks like a decision that where we made the wrong call.
Notice how careful Shanmugam is with his questions? He doesn't ask, why didn't Facebook tell users? He asks, is there a good reason that Facebook didn't tell users? The second question can be answered, even if Milner wasn't involved in the decision. Now Shanmugam highlights a much bigger problem than lack of transparency.
Let's look at another aspect of this, how Facebook reacted when it learned of the breach. 16th of March 2018, your statement says, we are committed to vigorously enforcing our policies to protect people's information. We will take whatever steps are required to see that this happens. That's what you say your commitment is. Let's look at what you did. You removed Dr. Kogan's app, right?
Yes.
You asked Dr. Kogan and Cambridge Analytica to confirm that all information has been deleted.
Yes.
Shanmugam freezes the facts, so they can't be disputed later. He then hits Facebook with a tough question.
Mr. Milner, you're dealing with someone who had acted in very serious breach of your rules, Dr. Kogan, according to you. Right?
Yes.
And you were completely happy to take his words on trust after that and his certifications without taking any steps to verify yourself?
Earlier, Shanmugam asked, did Facebook give a complete and honest account of what happened? Here, he's asking, did Facebook respond reasonably once it knew something had gone wrong? Specifically, once you had classified someone as an untrustworthy actor, why did you treat his certification as trustworthy? That's a different failure. So the case is expanding. There's a pattern of conduct. There's multiple kinds of failures. It's difficult to believe Facebook's claims that it was vigorously enforcing its policies. No prizes for guessing what happened next.
I would suggest that the kind of verification that we received from him was significantly above and beyond just taking him on trust.
That wasn't the question that I asked. The question I asked is, you were quite happy. Does it look odd to you to just accept a certification from him? You, Facebook, would have been expected to have done more, reasonably. Agree?
Yes, given the actions we're now
I think
taking.
it took us about 10 minutes to get there.
And the icing on the cake, Shanmugam dismantles Facebook's argument that user consent absolves it of responsibility.
Now let's move on to another point. The significance of what you say, user consent. Now, on the 17th of March, your statement last week, you say the claim that this is data breach is completely false. Alexander Kogan requested and gained access to information from users who chose to sign up to his app, and everyone involved gave their consent. People knowingly provided their information. Kogan gained access to this information in a legitimate way and through the proper channels that governed all developers on Facebook at that time. And in your statement on the 16th, Approximately 270,000 people downloaded the app. In so doing, they gave their consent for Kogan to access information, as well as more limited information about friends who had their privacy settings set to allow it. Kogan gained access to this information in a legitimate way and through proper channels that governed all developers on Facebook at that time. This line of reasoning is not new. Let me give you an example. The law had to deal with these sorts of issues for a long time. I go down, I take a train, I get tickets. There used to be standard forms on these tickets, which would remove all liability on the part of the train operator. They can be negligent, and I may be left without any recourse. And that's why the law intervened to equalize the position a bit more and refuse the company in a dominant position to deny all liability. That it seems to me that the approach you take is very much similar to the approach that many of these utilities and other operators used to take with consumers. The individual versus a large corporation which seeks to deny all liability. Would you accept that simply to say, as you said on the 16th and 17th, they clicked on an app, they must be known to know all the terms and conditions, and therefore they agreed. That's one position. Really, the more acceptable position is the acknowledgement of responsibility that came last night from your CEO and Ms. Sandberg. Would you accept that?
At one point, Mueller protests to the chair.
I'd actually like to speak to the chair at this point. I'm not certain that this is a fair use of this committee's time, and I really would like the chairman to consider whether this line of questioning is appropriate.
But Shanmugam quickly puts him in his place.
The questions before the UK Parliament were very relevant in exploring the degree to which you can be trusted. Facebook can be trusted to answer questions when asked. Facebook can be trusted to be a reliable partner, that a government of Singapore can depend on Facebook to tell us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in proceedings where the witnesses are sworn, or whether you will do everything you can to give lawyers' answers or lawyered answers. And to what extent can we take seriously all these protestations that you can be completely trusted to apply your internal guidelines? And your argument, up to very recently, through the written representations, through the public statements, through all public positions that you have taken, in essence, is that you will prefer to be regulating yourself with your internal guidelines. That's my sense of it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
And that leads to the ultimate question.
To what extent can we rely on you being voluntarily helpful? To what extent can we rely on your actions being helpful? To what extent does the government have to intervene? And that really depends on an assessment of what you do elsewhere in the world.
Shanmugam asked many simple questions. Each had an answer that was difficult to dispute. And each time Mueller answered a different question, Shanmugam firmly but gently brought him back to the question he had actually asked. The questions combined in different ways, like the pin, the scaffold, the ladder. But each set of questions led to an inescapable conclusion. Each inescapable conclusion was more damaging than the last. And that's how Shanmugam got Mueller to concede what he didn't want to concede. Not with a single devastating question, but one concession at a time. Thanks for watching.